justice today charging 4 members of China's military for their role in the 2017 Equifax data breach, one of the largest data breaches in our history. 147 million files were breached. The 4 Chinese officers were able to steal the personal data of the Americans, including their names, birth dates, and driver's licenses, credit card numbers, social security numbers. The 4 defendants charged with conspiracy to commit computer fraud, economic espionage, and wire fraud. And by the way, the Attorney General making the point that the United States government had identified the individuals and wanted to make a point to China that they could do so in making those charges. Well, joining us tonight is Congressman Jim Banks, member of the House Armed Services, Education, and Veterans Affairs Committees. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Great
First,
to be with you.
year and a half after Equifax, it seems like a long time to figure out who that was. Your reaction?
Well, that's right, Lou. Up until now, I hadn't heard anything about potentially China being involved in the Equifax leak. But the American people now are becoming more and more aware of the dangerous and astonishing ways that the Chinese are infiltrating our data. And this is a pretty powerful example of that, a reason why the president's efforts to combat Chinese influence, both economically and militarily, is so fundamentally important to where we head from here as a country.
And we have not seen any official government reaction. I mean, we're talking about as many as 147 million Americans. We're talking about the Office of Personnel Management back in 2015. Under the Obama administration, no reaction. Individuals in the military of the PRC being charged here. But how can there be no reaction to these kinds of huge data breaches and cyber attacks against the United States, our government, our companies, our institutions?
You're absolutely right. Arresting 4 Chinese who are involved or potentially single-handedly culpable for this breach isn't enough. We have to hold China accountable as a country. President Trump has done that, as you know, through his tough trade actions and holding China accountable. And this needs to be a part of the discussions and negotiations as we get closer to a trade deal 2.0. But this is just skimming the surface. I mean, we're talking about about half of the American population whose driver's licenses, social security numbers, their dates of birth being infiltrated by this breach. But Lou, you and I have talked before about facial recognition apps, about biometric testing. There are several layers to this that the Chinese have taken advantage of Americans' data and personal information.
We're getting